I know some of the critics of this action call it amnesty. Well, it's not. Amnesty is the immigration system we have today. Millions of people who live here without paying their taxes or playing by the rules, while politicians use the issue to scare people and whip up votes at election time. That's the real amnesty, leaving this broken system the way it is. Mass amnesty would be unfair. Mass deportation would be both impossible and contrary to our character.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, more from the president, and now we'll turn to our friend Dinesh D'Souza, who was with us yesterday briefly. We had some technical difficulties, so I kept my word. We invited him back. Glad he could join us again. Hello, Dinesh, and what'd you make of everything the president had to say yesterday?
Well, Steve, I think that Obama is now setting a kind of a new precedent. I call it the Obama precedent. And the Obama precedent is that any president from now on who runs into laws that he or she doesn't like, they just declare those laws to be optional and they stop enforcing them. So this is a radical modification of our system of government. It used to be that Congress makes the law and the president, like it or not, was supposed to carry out the law. He's the executive. But we now have a lawless chief executive who thinks that if he gets really frustrated and doesn't like the fact that Congress isn't doing what he wants, he gets to ignore them and basically not enforce the laws that he doesn't feel like enforcing.
All right, there's a lot of reasons given for what he did. He's given a lot of reasons for what he did. Do you believe one of the reasons is that he has contempt for the American people?
I think so. I think that what we are seeing now is essentially, you could call it the behavior of an extremely spoiled brat. Obama, who I think has been a spoiled brat since he was 2, has certainly been a political spoiled brat. And by that I mean he's not totally to blame for that, because the media is partly to blame. They're the ones who've been spoiling him by not holding him to account. So as a consequence of it, Obama basically thinks, I can get away with it. I can be a wolf because the media is like sheep. And so he's been doing this, and now that suddenly the American people are waking up, calling him to account, he becomes, like any spoiled kid, irritable, and he basically goes, well, to heck with you then. I'm not going to work with you. If you're going to spoil my party, I'm just going to break the toys, and I'm just going to do whatever the heck I want, and I'm going to see whether you spank me or not. And the big question is, will the Republicans now do what is needed and spank him?
Well, that was going to be my next question to you, Dinesh. What do you believe that spanking should consist of? Because, you know, they've gone home now for the next week or so, and reportedly with no plan on the table. Some of them are backing away from doing anything financially before the new Congress steps in. So what would you like to see them do? What would you suggest the Republicans do?
Well, first of all, I would suggest that the Republicans think about organizing a massive press conference that is made up of legal immigrants, a very multicultural group of people from all over the world, to come together and denounce this lawless action by the president. I'm one of those legal immigrants. I mean, I came to this country at the age of 17, but I was almost 30 before I became a U.S. citizen. Why? Because I had a student visa, and then I had to get a practical training visa, and then a green card, and then it took me 5 more years to naturalize. So all of us have gone through the line. We've stood in the queue, if you will. And what Obama's doing is basically saying that those rules don't matter. There are actually 2 categories of lawbreakers. The lawbreakers who swim across the Rio Grande, and I'm not going to treat them as lawbreakers at all. I'm only going to treat the subset of that group that has committed crimes and felonies. Those are the only lawbreakers as far as I'm concerned. So I'd like to have a whole bunch of legal immigrants saying, we play by the rules, you're undercutting the rules, Mr. President, and that actually does harm to us.
Would you want, if the Republicans were to do that, would you want to be one of those people up there?
I most certainly would volunteer, although remember, Steve, I'm under a travel restriction because I've got to stay in San Diego. I'll say a second thing. Rather than make this a fight about should there be immigrants or not, that's a little bit of the Obama trap. He wants the Republicans to sound anti-immigrant on this. whereas the key issue has never been immigration or non-immigration, but what kind of immigrants we want to this country and whether they come legally or illegally. We want immigrants who will pull the bandwagon. He wants immigrants who will sit in the bandwagon. We want immigrants who embody the spirit of 1776. He wants immigrants who embody the envious, covetous spirit of 1968. So we're fighting over whether we want productive immigrants or unproductive people like Obama himself.
What about do you believe he's sincere at all when he quotes scripture? I mean, this guy had 2 years. If this is so important to him, if it's a religious thing with him almost, he could have done it as his first act. He had a 60-vote Senate, and he had the House of Representatives for 2 years. He did nothing.
Absolutely. I think really that what the real issue here to me is not immigration, it's lawlessness. And I think what the Republicans need to do, this would not only be a morally imperative thing to do, but also a politically and strategically smart thing to do, is essentially open up a special prosecution and investigation that goes all the way across the Obama administration, from the SEC to the FEC,
Gotcha.
to the IRS, to the Obama White House. I feel very
Dinesh,
confident that if we start turning over rocks, all kinds of amoebas and rats and rodents will turn up, because this administration has been operating in a sense.
Dinesh, I appreciate it. Appreciate it. Got a
rules.
hard break. Got to go. Thank you, Dinesh D'Souza. Appreciate it very much. And we'll be back, ladies and gentlemen. But first, this hour's America's Moment. Don't go away.
On September 15th, 1950, General of the Army and Commander-in-Chief of the United Nations Forces, Douglas MacArthur, launched a surprise amphibious attack against the Communist North Korean Army at the Bay of Incheon in South Korea. Approximately 3 months earlier, the North invaded South Korea and soon captured its capital, Seoul. MacArthur, against the advice of his military advisors, chose Incheon for his counterattack. The move was risky. Incheon was heavily fortified, and American soldiers would face towering cliffs on its beaches. His maneuver caught the enemy completely by surprise. MacArthur quickly cut the North Korean army in half as their beleaguered army hastily beat a retreat north. For the moment, the government of South Korea had been saved. In an address to a joint session of Congress, General Douglas MacArthur uttered those famous words, "Old soldiers never die, they just fade away," and then added,
"I now close my military career and just fade away."
You're watching An American Moment on Newsmax TV.